Specific technologies over working solutions. Hiring buzzwords over proven track records. Creative job titles over technical experience. And reacting to trends over more pragmatic options. This is the future of software development if we adhere to this satirical manifesto for resume-driven development. According to its signatories, the phenomenon is already present today. This invites the question if there's more than anecdotal evidence to it. In this study, we share our investigations on this important topic. In times of social networks, communities, job portals, and especially career platforms, a profile including our personal data becomes more important than ever. An up-to-date profile with degrees, certificates, knowledge and skills, confirmed by endorsements, completes a professional appearance. It as well is a treasure for recruiters and companies and helps to find a matching candidate. The great importance of profiles and resumes leads to an increasing urge to perfect one's own appearance. For software developers, knowledge and skills with regard to various technologies play a dominant role here. A recent study showed that technology skills are seen as the most important factor for a new position. At the same time, a study using eye tracking found that hiring professionals spend an average of 7 seconds looking at an applicant's resume. So there's not much time left to convince the critical eyes of a recruiter. It stands to reason that this most likely succeeds with a breadth and topicality of the technologies presented. The strategy for building an impressive profile seems clear. The selection of technologies in current projects gets highest priority. Moreover, future employers and jobs are chosen specifically according to these criteria. Frequent changes are inherent to not get stuck in one topic. A satirical term for this phenomenon has recently emerged in developer circles: resume-driven development, or short RDD. Let's have a look at an example. If I, as a developer, lack practice in front-end development using Angular or React, I will prioritize one of these frameworks in the current project. If there's too little about microservices in my resume, perhaps I will implement the current simple web app in Spring Boot and deploy it as a container solution in a Kubernetes cluster. Here, the preference of technologies is based on current trends or hypes, which not seldom disappear after a few years. However, developers, or more general applicants, represent only one side of RDD. On the other side are companies and hiring professionals who act or react accordingly. A company obviously wants to create the best possible product with the help of the right tool. But the technologies that companies search for may often be the ones that developers are not particularly keen to work with. These diverging interests can easily lead to conflicts in the choice of technology. Since there's a high demand for software developers on the job market, one may be willing to make concessions. RDD on the side of the companies now implies that they upgrade their job postings with current technology trends that are popular with developers. Applicants in turn will assume that these job advertisements reflect the actual needs of an employer and hence feel affirmed to include a wide range of technology trends in their profiles. The legitimate question arises whether the outlined relationships actually exist and if causality can be proven. It would also be interesting to know the extent of this phenomenon and its effects on software development practice. So far, there has been no scientific research on this topic. There's also no clear definition for resume-driven or CV-driven development. By means of an empirical study, we want to shed more light on this. In a broad survey, we questioned software developers on the one hand and hiring professionals on the other. A total of 591 participants could be counted, divided into two perspectives: hiring and applicants, represented by 130 and 558 responses respectively. The applicants encompassed software engineers, computer science students, architects, and other developer roles. For hiring, people manager or team lead was the dominant job role, followed by headhunter and HR professional. Hence, 97 participants answered in both perspectives. The recruiting process was examined with a focus on the CVs of the applicants and job advertisements created by hiring. At first, hiring professionals were asked about their preferences regarding applicants' technology-related knowledge and skills. We inquired about their preferred orientation in the dimensions breadth versus depth and established versus latest trending. We found that broad knowledge in established technologies tends to better meet the needs of hiring professionals. The second question group concerned the assessment of applicants. 71% of the hiring professionals assume that software developers generally enjoy working with the latest trending technologies. Correspondingly, around half of the respondents think that applicants are discouraged by the prospect of working with established or legacy technologies and systems. The majority of HR professionals agreed that technology trends have an impact on the technologies that they advertise in their job offerings. And almost half of them confirmed that their advertised technologies are influenced by the expectations of potential applicants. The applicants answered correspondingly. A large majority of 73% said that they enjoy working with the latest trending technologies. Even more, they were convinced that such knowledge and skills would make them more attractive for potential employers. And almost two-thirds would confirm the more latest trending technologies I learn, the more attractive. However, they are rather divided on the question of whether such skills would make them better software developers. Finally, 1/5 of the applicants stated that they had already used latest trending technologies, although it was not the most suitable choice. Grounded in the survey results, we conceptualized a theory to frame and explain resume-driven development. Both perspectives are characterized by their facets in RDD. As a result of a correlation analysis and regression modeling, we determined strengthening predictors linked to each perspective. For instance, we found a positive correlation with the company size. However, the data did not show any significant correlation with the labor market situation. The empirical evidence suggests the occurrence of RDD facets in substantial parts of our hiring sample. There are strong indications that job offerings are influenced by technology trends and applicant expectations. It also suggests that RDD incentivizes developers to keep up to date with the latest technology trends and hypes. The question arises what potential effects RDD may have on the practice of software development. Here we can point out consequences for both perspectives, hiring and applicant. First of all, long-term impacts on software quality are possible. The majority of participants agreed that constantly emerging technology trends increase the diversity of languages, frameworks, and tools used in the company. This increases the complexity, which can affect quality, reliability, and hence drive up maintenance costs. The second impact area concerns the recruiting process itself. RDD can arouse false expectations on both sides. Applicants generally do not like it if their future role in the company is not clearly defined. A subsequent high fluctuation is costly for both sides, but especially for the company. Another point that was often mentioned by the survey participants is the associated neglect of soft skills. Of course, there are also positive aspects like the incentive of keeping up to date with the latest technology trends. Still, we think an understanding of RDD and its consequences is important in a time when new technologies, languages and frameworks are released more and more frequently. For more details and insights, check our paper and feel free to share your feedback with us.
Okay, hi everybody again. We are in our last session, only 5 minutes. Thank you very much, Jonas, Fritzsch, to answer the questions. And let's go to the first one. That is, well, you can see it in the chat. It's really just commenting that the percentages in the answers appears to be in many cases pretty distributed to take strong conclusions. So I was wondering what is the level of confidence for your conceptualization of a theory when there is such a variability in the answers that we have. Any comment about it?
Yeah, so indeed, we had a different number of participants for the hiring and for the applicant perspective. Indeed, it's a bit easier to find software developer students to participate in such a survey, and it's rather difficult to find many people on the hiring side to also participate in this. So we had lots of participants who were actually who had both roles in their their jobs, which were like people managers or team managers who are on the developer side as well as on the hiring side. So
okay. No, but please go on.
Yeah, so for the applicant side, we are pretty sure that we can make strong conclusions out of the answers we got. For the hiring side, with our 130 answers, it's still a lot, but we cannot make these strong conclusions for the hiring part as we did for the applicants part. This is true. Yeah.
Okay.
That's maybe one limitation that we have to mention for our study.
There is an interesting question from, it's another one. Let me go through this. The hiring perspective against the applicant perspective was interesting because we had different responses, but up to 97 answers came from both perspectives, from people that at the same time were playing the role of hiring and applicant perspectives. Have you got any special conclusions from this subgroup that were just playing the two roles? Any special information or conclusions got from this group?
Yeah, indeed. We were looking for peculiarities which maybe apply to people who only are hiring managers, for instance, and people who have both roles. And we could not find actually strong differences in the answers in these groups. So this is maybe one thing we can point out here.
Okay, you made also a very interesting point concerning how soft skills are neglected when they should be considered very relevant. So how could RDD face this issue?
Yeah, actually, this is one aspect that many participants mentioned actually in our additional comments section, that they value soft skills much more higher than they do regarding the technology skills. But indeed, there is a discrepancy actually when we look at these developer surveys, so that applicants usually value technology choices much higher than they do value the soft skills. So there's a discrepancy actually, and so what we can take out of our work is maybe that soft skills should maybe get a higher attention or should be valued more in this process compared to just technologies and what level of skills do I have in a certain technology.
Well, we have a minute for a short last question that is related to the conclusions that appear to be quite expected in some cases. For instance, you can see here, using latest trending techniques makes applicants feel that they are more attractive for employers. Is it not the case in most of the main conclusions that there are no surprises in them, or has not been the case always in your study?
Yeah, so we have to say...
10 seconds, sorry, 10 seconds, very fast answer.
Okay, I think I cannot give a good answer here. So I would recommend have a look at our paper. We outline the details there.
Well, it's good that this is open to discussions. We have now the discussion room. I will be happy to join you there. Thank you very much, everybody. And you are invited to continue. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you.